Hey everyone, and welcome to The Shy Spot. This is my very, very, very first podcast, the very first episode in the podcast of The Shy Spot. So I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not winging it per se. I've been wanting to do a podcast for a really long time. And I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I've been a radio personality for about 15 years my prior life. And that kind of ended about 4 or 5 years ago. And I went into other lines of work, teaching and, working as a social worker counselor. I'm currently, that is what I do. I work as a social worker counselor for immigrant populations, but there was always this itch to kind of get back into it. And radio, for all my radio family out there, I miss you guys terribly, but I do not think, and I think even people who work in radio right now, terrestrial offers what we want to listen to. And therefore, millions on millions of podcasts have now been invented. So this is The Shy Spot. As far as what this podcast is about, I think I've been wrestling with this for a while, like how to define it. And I think for me, it's going to be a lot of fuck ups. Just a lot of problematic bullshit I've gone through in my life. Not to just make it about me, but then either take those situations, events, whatever, and kind of try to apply them through a lens of a little bit of spirituality, a lot of philosophical takes, and just kind of talking through it in a way where I hope it can be really, really relatable to other people. If not relatable, because my life isn't really that relatable, it could be just a way of thinking and a perspective that maybe no one's heard before. And I say that because, for months and months now, just even delving into self-development podcasts or spirituality things, it's always the same bullshit. Yeah, you wake up, you meditate, you give yourself some affirmations, and you're awesome, Shyla, and then you go about your day. Shy, did you meditate for 10 minutes? No, because it doesn't work, and we all think it does. So, I went into the world of philosophy and spirituality. I want to say about 2016, I was doing radio in New York City. I was supposed to be the happiest I could be. And I just got off a gig from Chicago, which I absolutely loved. I was, with a guy that I should have never, ever, ever, ever been with. And I will take blame for it as well. I mean, he's toxic as fuck, but I have to take blame for my actions. I'm in New York making all this money and I'm supposed to be really happy. And I hated the gig. It was never a gig for me. It never should have been a gig for me. But that being said, while I was in this apartment, I had this crazy existential moment. And I remember I had this apartment that I was paying $2,500 for, number one market, making all this money and, going to a record rep dinner and this and that. And I'm just like, man, is this what it's all about? I can't even express myself on the air that I'd like to. I got PDs running in every 5 minutes. I'm doing pen of the day bits, which by the way is a great bit. Real quick, you go out on the air and you say, hey guys, you want to promote your business? Just send me a pen. And then I talk about the pen. It's a hit. They do it on radio stations all across the market. And I stole it from a guy in Chicago that used to do it. But anyway, that's where I had this moment where there's gotta be more to life than this. New York is the rat race of rat races. And so many people are so convinced that you got to run that rat race. And I'm just I finally had this bird's eye view moment where I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have to run this rat race, right, Dan? So Dan is my producer, or he's going to help me with this. My friend Dan has known me since I was about 10 years old, Dan?
I'd say about 10, 13, somewhere in that, yeah.
But he's also from my hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania, and we went to kind of high school together, even though I went to 5 high schools from anywhere from New York City to Scranton. And him and I used to do a podcast with our other friend, Mark. This is before podcasts were a thing. This is when we were 30 years old, sitting in the basement, shooting the shit, just talking about things. We don't care if we're woke or not woke. You will not hear woke things on this, probably.
Probably not, no.
No. So he has been one of my biggest fans and supporters of Shy do a podcast.
It's been about 13 years I've been trying to get you to do this.
Yeah, 13 years. And I just never thought I had it. I have a problem with this confidence level. It's this confidence to feel like you can do something.
But you seem the happiest when you're doing it. That's the thing.
Is it?
It is, yes.
I am the happiest when I open up the mic. To me, it is completely therapeutic, but you gotta block out the noise. It's like anything. Anybody listening right now who wants to venture into something, right?
Right. Yeah.
Why are you laughing at me? Because I'm trying to make it all about everybody else. Yeah.
Stop deflecting on other people. We're talking about you here.
I know, because it's like you can't knock out when you're on terrestrial radio and you've learned how to do tactics. And part of the functioning of terrestrial radio is like, don't just make it about yourself. Throw it back out to your audience. So you guys, 1-800-55, all that nonsense. But, so Dan has been a really big supporter of mine and said, let's do this. So I said, you know what? I turned 43 on September 4th. And I thought, I've been sitting with this little podcast equipment that I bought from my friend Chio, P1. And, we'll explain P1 one day, but we used to say P1 a lot in Philly.
A lot.
And I did 2 shows with him, and he's also like this huge supporter of mine. So I bought equipment, and that equipment just fucking sat there for months, sitting on a bar stool in Brooklyn. And I'm just like, why aren't you using it? Why aren't you using it? Because I am so scared to do this and fail, but no one's going to listen anyway. And I'm like, Shyla, no one's going to listen for about 6 months or more or never. Like, you just go into it knowing that it's just going to suck until you feel it out. Even this first episode probably sucks because all I'm talking about is talking about doing a podcast, but not actually talking about the topic of the podcast.
Welcome to every first podcast ever.
It is, because I don't know how and that's another reason I never started the podcast. I didn't know how to start. I'm like, do I go right into a topic, or do I just kind of do a little bit of a background as to why I would do this? I put up on Facebook, I canceled social media out of my life and my last gig, when I left Radio Pie 2018. And I couldn't wait because I understand you guys all love social media. You have a love-hate relationship with social media. One day you say you love it. One day you say you hate it. You're bored so you have to scroll and then you see cool shit. Like, I had to let all that go because I cannot think of a more toxic place than social media. I am not kidding. But
all those guys seem so stable though.
Wow. Is this sarcasm?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. And so I remember my mental state when I had to be so proactive on social media, right? That I'd be like, I put this post up. Wait, let me check it. Like every 5 minutes to see how many likes it got. I'd be like, damn, it didn't get a like. Like it. Like you're just, you literally lose your mind. And so when I finally was like, oh man, I don't have to deal with social media. But the thing is, getting back into terrestrial radio again, the first thing they look at is, let's look at Shyla's social media platforms. Oh, she hasn't done jack shit with it. Oh, we're not going to hire her because she's not digital enough. It's like, bro, I am you open up a mic. This is where you're paying me for this. You're not paying me for postings. Although, I probably should hire somebody if I'm really going to actually do it right. Dan, you were saying?
I was going to say, so you ghosted yourself off of the social media for a while there, right?
I had to because it was so stupid.
And then yesterday you posted a picture of yourself.
Right. I totally became hypocritical.
Yeah, and how many likes did you get? How many comments did you get?
And what did I do all day? Keep checking it.
I would too if I was getting that many. People love you, Shyla.
No, they don't. I don't know what people are.
They like your face.
Oh, God, the face.
Welcome to the podcast where you can't see her face.
And we are never going to see my face.
We will. We'll get there.
But I got to say this. So yeah, about a month ago, I put up like, hey guys, I think I want to do a podcast. And I got really great reception. I mean, it was only 300 people on my feed. I had 5,000 or whatever. And I never turned it into a fan page. I never did in radio, I guess what I was supposed to typically do, which was to embrace the fact that I'm a big deal because I got a microphone in front of me and I'm in this city, and I never embraced that fully. And I'd watch everybody else really embrace it. I'm like an anti-embracer of pop shit. I remember one dude flew in from Long Island to hire me for a show. Okay, this is now the second or third show I was offered, one in Las Vegas, one in Long Island, and I want to say one more that I can't remember. Maybe not. But it was like, oh, Shyla, you get to headline your own show. What do? I pussy out of it because I don't have the self-esteem or that confidence to go, yeah, you can do it. You can grab the bull by the horns. And I thought to myself, if I don't start doing this now, like literally today now, like I'm never going to know what I'm made of. But back to what I was saying about not embracing what it was to like just embrace the radio personality thing. I wasn't good at providing like false narratives of who I was. And I feel like a lot of us kind of put out there the false narrative of who we are, or you know what I'm saying?
Are you saying radio's fake?
Not at all. All of the War of the Roses are totally, totally real. People break up like that all the time and want to send flowers. No, but that's the thing. Like, I always felt like a part of me was being very inauthentic, and I just couldn't buy into it to make me who I needed to be. So when I got to Chicago, there was a PD named Jeff Capucci who I think like really just let me be me, you know? And I'm so happy he did that, you know, although I wasn't very good at like the restrictions of doing it in 1 minute. But
you had really great success in Chicago.
I did have really great success in Chicago because I had to rely mostly on myself to be entertaining. I appreciated that PD for letting me do that. You know, I mean, it had its other issues and I had other issues at the time. I want to say I'm definitely not the same person I was back then that I am now. I am 100% more emotionally stable. Right. No, I mean, like I say that because after I had my existential moment in 2016, after the New York gig, after I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I just realized that there's a better way to handle yourself in life. There's a better way to look at life, and there's a better way to get through it where you don't have to get sucked up in it. And every once in a while I do get sucked up in it. But I think that's where like Eastern spirituality, stoicism, all that's kind of the same under the same umbrella, like are just a better way of living life. If any of you have even researched any of those stuff like Vedanta, and it makes you look at life on an extremely different level than what I hear. And that was the other reason I wanted to start this podcast, because, you know, you have the Jay Shettys out in the world, that Indian dude. Everybody fucking knows who this dude is, okay? But this monk, 3 years, get the fuck out of here. I know gurus that literally spend their entire lifetime in India. Those are the people you got to be listening to. Not anything against Jay. The one thing that disappoints me with Jay when I listen to it is he ended up watering down the principles of the philosophy. So like all the general masses could understand it, which I get because you're trying to go for popular. But what I understood about popularity is probably the more popular you are in certain industries, the more you probably don't have substance. So it's as if, okay, only like 10 people might like this or get into it, but maybe they just get me and I'm okay with that because I don't want to water down the product.
It's better to have those 10 valuable listeners.
Yeah.
As we said before, the P1s.
P1, yeah. So if I break into P1, it's only because I'm making fun of the fact that when I was in radio in Philly, P1 means you are the most prized listener in like the radio world. So when I was on Chio's show, if a listener called and they were like loyal listeners, you'd start off, they'd go P1, P1, and then everybody would shout it in. It was kind of ridiculous. But it was amazing. It was really funny at the same time. Really funny. I have met people along my journey. I hate that fucking word. Just my journey. I don't like to use anything that's cliche. Self-care is not in my vocabulary. Like, I will not use any cliche words. I am like the anti of anything that's probably popular culture. I don't want to hug that too much because then it looks like I'm doing it purposely. Anyway, the confidence part of me is and was severely lacking, and I hope it's getting better, but I kind of got out of this weird relationship. And the one thing I realized from it is the fact that I was in a pretty good place before he came in, and he's not in a good place. And this becomes very interesting in my history of dating. And I'm not a big dater. I don't go on web. You will not see me on onematch.com, eHarmony, Tinder, nada.
This is not totally true.
Why?
There is one website that they could find you on.
Which is?
The Indian
marriage. That's not for me. That's for my dad. That's for my dad. I am an Indian girl.
We're going to be honest here. We're going to be honest.
Yeah. No, I am on probably like Shadi.com or TamilMatrimony.com, or my father's probably meeting some Indian dude in a park as we speak to see if he will marry me. Like, this is insane. It's like I live in two different worlds. That is a completely true story. I also will say, like, what I learned throughout the years is it's not about me. Like, in other words, in order to resolve a lot of my issues, I needed to like accept all what was wrong with me in order to evolve and conquer whatever traumas or issues that I have going on a repeated level. I had to stop projecting it as an external problem all the time. It is an internal problem. It is a me problem. And it's probably a you problem.
Is this the first time that you've realized in a relationship that you were in a good place and they were not? This is the fastest I've ever seen you turn it around. Because this in your past would drag out for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that observation. I feel like I'm
You're welcome. Actually, I felt really smart coming up with that right there.
No, because it's the bounce back. What I'm learning, I'm not saying I'm bounced back. Like, I'm terribly sad and disappointed because he isn't in a good place. And I was in a decent place starting over. Starting over is not a bad place. Starting over is actually a kind of like an exciting place, because if you look at everything's perspective and you go, oh, wow, I have no idea what the future is going to hold, but I got this new job. I got this new gig. Let's see how it plays out. Like, I kind of get excited over it rather than to be too fearful. Then you bring somebody in who's like, just went through like the ringer somewhere else. The problem is, if those people, men or women, do not find a way to face their issues, face their trauma, and work through it, like men especially don't do that as well. Like, women will talk to 15,000 people, tell their problems, and then they'll be like exhausted and they'll be like, okay, I'm cured, you know? They're just like their own therapists. They're just talking.
Yeah, guys are just like, oh, work's got me down.
Yeah. They'll throw themselves into work, and they'll be justifying everything. Like, I'll just throw myself into work and it's fine. She's not the one. But whatever you guys tell yourselves. But you're just putting off the inevitable, which is you're making yourself emotionally unavailable, which is the dumbest term ever. But literally, that's what you guys do. And that's another reason why I was like, you're doing the podcast, Shy, because I don't know why I'm yelling. I feel like I'm yelling.
It's okay.
It's like, Shyla, you were in a really bad spot for a while because you were absorbing someone else's issues. And you were kind of like, why don't they like me? Why don't they want to take it a step further? Why don't they... Oh, what's wrong with me? You do the what's wrong with me. And there's really like, I'm sure there is a ton of things wrong with me. I'm not going to be that woman who's like, I found out there was nothing wrong with me. It was them. This is what I'm saying. It's not. It's me. I mean, they do have their own issues, but like, I'm not responsible for them.
The only thing that's wrong with you there is that you're trying to take on their problems.
Yeah.
That they're not facing, and you're trying to solve it for them, but they're not stepping up and facing them.
Then we got a problem, right? And we got a real mismatch of energies. I did not handle that well. I did not just step up and have the confidence to say, look, you have to know that from the beginning. Like, a year doesn't need to go by for you to go, oh, Shy, like that wasn't a good experience. I'm not saying the guy isn't good. The guy could be great, right? And it could be a matter of timing where you're meeting him, where like right now, this dude's not in a good place, but you should have known better not to get so involved or whatever it is. And so that chipped away at my confidence, I think, too. Just everything, new job, new this, new that, everything was falling apart. So confidence is a big issue for me. And, I am not one of those women that are like, girl power. I don't do that. I don't do like, I don't know what other cliche like confidence, but you are everything.
Slay queen.
I don't do any of that. And then I go back to the basics. And what are the basics? How am I taking care of myself? Like physically? Am I exercising? Am I eating right? Am I putting the right things in my body? Am I engaging in the right, like educational stuff? Like, if I study, I think everybody needs to study fucking something every day. It's all a mind, body, spirit thing every day.
Yeah, you indulge in learning a lot.
I do indulge in learning a lot.
More than most people I know.
But it's really like, I know there's an answer. I like to find out the answers a little too much. Like, I like the investigation a little too much. So for me, I just kept looking at this microphone, sitting on top of my bar going, let's talk about the podcast. And I feel like this podcast is talking about a podcast without the topic, but it's really about just the confidence to start it. So, after I kind of rambled here for about 20 minutes, I'm stumbling upon the idea that this podcast is really about having the confidence to start the podcast, or having the confidence to just start something that you've wanted to do for a really long time, and not having fear always just be the obstacle. And I don't care. You could apply that to any part of your life. Fear will debilitate the fuck out of you, right? And if you're wanting to start something that people have to actually like, you need them to listen to or care about, now you're relying on an outside external force to kind of go yay or nay at you. But that's why I'm like, no, it's okay. The other thing I learned too is I wish when I was in the business, I took the focus off of me and I put it on a higher thing, like really working for the station. I think we all think we're working for the station, but really we're just working for ourselves and making us look good and the show look. It's a really huge takeaway, like to work for the station, like to make it beyond me. And I think that was really hard for me to understand until I got out of it. And the other thing too is I was just a very angry person. Part of my personality is kind of like angry.
You're a little bitter at things.
Yeah. But
that's what drives you.
But what's that core need that you are not getting? And it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up. It's a really good way to know if you're meant to do something or not. Yeah, it's talking. Like it's tacking. It's my Scranton accent. It's talking on the radio again. It's just expressing myself. People write journals. Why can't I do a journal entry? My journal entry is my podcast.
And everybody gets to see it.
I have no idea if any of you enjoyed listening to this, but
if you did enjoy, reach out. Let us know.
God,
click
no.
the like button on her picture.
Oh, God, no. Don't click the like button.
Send in a pen. We'll give you a shout out.
That pen of the day bit's a great bet. You mail me your pen, guys.
No, I'm serious. If you want to get a shout out, send us a pen of your company and we'll do it.
Oh, yeah, but you got to give them the Scranton Scranton address.
Find Shyla on Facebook. You're probably already there. Send her a DM. No dick pics.
I just want to say, hey, if you did check in to my very first podcast, thank you very much for checking in. It is the Shy Spot, and I will talk to you guys soon.